they are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that they come up with policies to print currencies. We need to know, why is it that De La Rue left? How are we going to be able to print money? And I'm not saying for the sake of trying to stabilize the currency, but sometimes you have notes that become too old, so you want to print new. So I think as we deliberate and we reward Kenyans and talk about people taking over, I think for me what I would actually say is that for these gentlemen who have seen the recommendations are quite good, I hope that you can be able to restructure the roadmap to saving this economy. You can be able to, in fact, if you just do one thing, if you stabilize our currency so that we move from being slaves of hard currencies, at least we can talk about Kenya having a future. The biggest challenge we have today is that although Kenya is regarded as the biggest economy in East Africa, or even some might even say in East and Central Africa, because of its stability, the problem we have is that our currency is still a soft currency. You know, I hear people talk about, why is it that we have to trade with the dollar? Why can't we not trade among each other with our currencies? You know, and maybe that's something we need to talk about. Yesterday, Mr. Speaker, I had one of my colleagues talk about the G2G agreement in terms of importing of petroleum into this country. And that G2G, a lot of people don't really understand. The government had nothing to do with the money. The government doesn't own anything. It is the oil marketers that own. But if the dollar continue being on a free fall, the oil marketers will still end up paying a lot of money, and that pain will still go to the citizens. So I think we have to be clear. Maybe we should have had those arrangements basing it on the Kenya shillings. I'll be happy if this gentleman would come up with policies that now would propel our Kenya shillings to be a currency that we can be able to negotiate in the East African community. I was in Arusha the other day, and I was very happy, Mr. Speaker, because I needed to deposit some Kenya shillings in my bank in Kenya. And I was very happy that I walked into Kenya Commercial Bank in Arusha, and I could deposit Kenya shillings, and they reflect immediately. So that shows, and if you go to Rwanda the same, if you go to Uganda the same, where Kenya Commercial Bank is. In fact, if you trade, Mr. Speaker, I happen to be a trader among the East African countries, the financial institution in those countries will tell you that it is easier for me to pay you in Kenya shillings than to pay you in dollars. So I think it's about time that we now change our thinking, you know, and not continue being slaves of hard currencies. Today, look at the Kenya shillings. For $1, it's 150 shillings. Very soon, it will be 200 shillings. Suppose we can borrow the policies that are being applied by countries like Ethiopia, countries like Burundi, and then localize it. We don't necessarily have to go the way they go, but we can also localize it so that we can protect our currency. I do hope that the new governor of Central Bank, I hope that this House will approve him, will be able to now think outside the box. We can no longer continue to try and build this economy with a cut and paste. We can no longer continue to build this economy with a textbook description of how you build an economy. We have to now start thinking outside the box and say, what works for us? Mr. Speaker, if you go to a country like Tanzania today, and the Dairy Board of Tanzania has got quotas. They say if you want to export milk to Tanzania,